Hey guys, what's up? wInevitable here, bringing you another hero guide. This week, we are focusing on Abathur, the melee specialist from StarCraft 2. That's right, Kerrigan's Broodmaster, Master of Evolution, Abathur. He is a lot of fun to play in game. He's a very unique hero in that he's a specialist who kind of he sits on. Doesn't really kind of have a map presence per se, at least early game. He's more of a kind of buffs heroes and minions, and is very good at pushing lanes. A very, very unique hero. You can play him a bunch of different ways. And the idea behind this build is kind of not really a straight DPS team fight, any kind of team-oriented build. It's more of a split pushing style. You can certainly contribute to team fights, and you should, as a good Abathur. You can also get kills on heroes, but we're really building this for a pushing style. And what's going to happen late game here is you're going to kind of be pushing getting their forts. You really want to take down the forts and the keeps of the enemy team as the game goes on. Push a single lane when their team's not there to defend it. And you can get forts and keeps while they're fighting on the other side of the map. You get XP for your team. You should definitely leading in siege damage and XP with this build most of the time, and even occasionally hero damage, depending on the comps and how well everything's going in the game. So we'll get into the style as we get into the gameplay. I do want to keep this kind of short. I don't want the description to be too long here, but some things to watch out for. Nova and Zeratul, cloaked heroes, are very good at sniping you. You don't want to, if you're out exposed in a lane, Abathur is one of the squishiest heroes in game. He actually starts with just 550 hit points. Okay, so that's half almost of what Arthas has at 1040 at level 1. And he only gets 50 per level, so he'll be 1500 hit points at level 20. Whereas a tank like an Arthas is over 5000. You have Diablo at like 6. Even an assassin is going to be more than double of that, right? Yeah, if you look at, I'm trying to pull somebody up. So Nova at level 20 would be about 2,790 hit points. That's almost double the 1,500 here with Abathur. It's very squishy, low regen and a low damage. He actually slaps. He has a funny animation. If you ever slap, you can slap things for 18 damage at level 1 and 50. It's like 56 at level 20. So it's very low damage. You can melee slap things. You'll see it sometimes, kind of like a BM. Maybe you slap the enemy's core down at the end, you get the last hits, or you slap a minion. You might get the last kill on a hero if they're already weakened and they're trying to snipe you. But he's not a one-on-one kind of in-your-face team fighter kind of hero. He's more of a specialist in that he, specifically not just the role, but he casts spells and things like that, and is not trying to engage in this form right here. So his basic abilities, he can symbiote, and this is really cool. It's global. You assist an ally and you get a new set of abilities. You can use your Q onto a minion, a merc, or an allied hero. You cannot, of course, get the Garden Terror, the Dragon Knights. No, I think you can get the Dragon Knight. That one I have to check. But you cannot do like the Grave Golem, the boss kind of thing, on like the Haunted Mines map or the Cursed Hollow map. You can't symbiote those there, so that's important to keep in mind. And what happens is it's cooldown of 4 seconds. You'll Q somebody, and then you'll get this new set of abilities, which aren't shown up here. And I don't think, if we go here, I don't think they show up. We'll have to show you in game how this works. Let's get back to Abathur here. And so you'll have what's called a stab, a spike burst, and a carapace, which is a shield. So your Q, once you've Q'd a hero or a minion, well, then you'll be able to shoot a skill shot in a straight line. That's just called a stab. It does 44 damage at level 1, 291 at level 20. So it's a decent bit of damage. And then you have a spike burst, which shoots spikes out in a circle, in a radius around the minion or hero that you have symbioted. And that does a decent amount of it. It's 32 damage at level 1 and up to 222 at level 20. So, I mean, unless you're buffing it there are talents for that. But they both do a decent amount of damage, and you have a carapace which shields them for 140 hit points, 444 at level 20. So it's an okay shield. The shield can save heroes, keep them alive if it's well timed, and just get them through like the gate to the fountain or something like that. You can really do some clutch saves with it. That's your E. Then when you're not symbioted, somebody, you have a toxic nest. This does have a limited range. There's a talent to give them a global range, but you can drop mines within a certain radius, and these have to build up. I think it's about, I want to say 4 seconds or so to spawn the mine, during which time it can be destroyed if the enemy has vision of it. And once it, that 4 seconds passes, it arms. Then it sits there, kind of like a ticking time bomb. They last for 90 seconds, and if any hero or minion or merc on the enemy team walks over it, or within a certain distance of it, it will trigger it, dealing 335 damage at level 1 right there. So that, of course, can also be buffed as well. So your mines, if you can place them really well, they give you vision of the enemy team, and they also can do a ton of damage, especially to a squishier team comp that has, say, 3-4 assassins or something like that. You can actually get kills with your mines if the enemy team's not careful. It's quite funny, actually. And so those are also a lot of fun to use. And then he has an innate trait where he has a locust strain. It was the name of it, but it spawns locusts down the nearest lane. And you'll start with just one. You can upgrade this at level 16 to get to spawn 3 additional ones with a talent, which we'll use. And it travels down the lane. It's really tough to kill. It has a lot of HP. It deals a decent amount of damage. But you can also symbiote it too and use it to push lanes. And there's talents that you can upgrade those as well. So those can be pretty brutal when you're pushing a lane. His heroic is a lot of fun. You clone an allied hero and you control it. It's a cooldown of 120 and it lasts for 45. Now at level 20 you're going to buff this and it will be a cooldown of 90 seconds and it'll last for 60. So if your heroic lasts for the full 60 seconds, there'll be a cooldown of 30 seconds that you have to wait, and that's it. And that's really, really critical, because another thing with Abathur is you do not have a body on the field. You're essentially fighting 4v5 against the enemy team. Now, you do have the damage. Let me just go to busy state right here for a second. So yeah, what happens is you are 4v5, right? But you do have your damage. You just don't have the HP, the body of Abathur. So you can symbiote an allied hero and deal damage in a team fight, but you're not going to be there to take any damage, and so you'll be down a body. When you have the heroic up, you can clone an allied hero. If you pick the right hero from your team comp for the enemy team comp, you can you can win team fights that way. But when your heroic is down, your team's at a disadvantage, and when the enemy team, if they have an Abathur, if their heroic is used up, you can see the clone. It has a set timer. When it disappears, it's down for at least 30 seconds at level 20, and otherwise, at level 10, it's going to be down, for 75 seconds if it lasted for the full length, full duration. So that's an important window that you have to either be very passive and safe during, or you have to take advantage of if you're playing against an Abathur. Some really awesome skins. This is the basic skin. You'll see a lot. The master skin is pretty cool. I've seen a few of these. It has different variations. The Pajamathur is probably my favorite. I'm definitely going to pick this one up. I love this one. It's amazing. And I picked the Halloween skin up right now for the Halloween, thrills and trick-or-treats and all that. This one is pretty cool as well. But yeah, I love the Pajamathur. It's probably my favorite skin in the game. Now going through the talents, remember we're doing the lane push style, so there's different variations here. You could build your Q damage for your stabs, so you do extra hero damage and things like that, but we're not going to do that. Level 1, Envenomed Nest is pretty awesome depending on the map. Say Haunted Mines, Dragonshire, or even Curse Hollow, where there are these specific objectives. You have to go into the mines, you have to capture the shrines. You know where the enemy team's going to be going. If their team comp's also squishy, as I was saying, if they have a couple really weak, low HP assassins, like a Falstad and a Nova, a Zeratul, things of that nature, they're not very HP heavy. You can do a lot of damage and cripple their team with well-placed nests. So this is definitely viable. I've seen people take the Q to get the extra W damage when you symbiote, say, a minion to push a lane. It's not all that bad. If I'm not using Envenomed Nest, though, I'm usually going with the extra health on my Locust, because I do get, at 16, we do get the talent to spawn three Locusts. So it's, this is really, we're picking Survival Instinct here most of the time if we're not doing Envenomed Nest, just because we're going to be upgrading our Locusts a bit to do a ton of damage. And it really adds that HP. The attack speed would work as well, but we're going to go with this or this most of the time for this particular build. And I said it really depends on the team comp, if they're squishy, and the map, if there's going to be choke points that they have to go to, objectives they have to capture. If both of those are the case, definitely use Envenomed Nest. Otherwise, I'd probably stick with Survival Instincts. It's just it doesn't really rely on you using your mines that well. You can completely not use your mines, whiff with your mines, and still get the benefit of that talent. Level 4, really using Promote. This is that lane push style. After the changes, when the alpha went down and came back up, the turret changes with the ammo regeneration, it made pushing a lot better. They run out of ammo. The towers and the forts run out of ammo a lot faster, and that's why we're going with Promote. You get an extra 300% health and 100% damage to an allied lane minion, and you get 2 charges. They have a cooldown of 60 seconds, of course, so in 2 minutes you'll get another set of 2 charges, and you can use them again. And you put these into a wave. You can stack these with, say, another hero who has Promote, like an Asmodan, and really have this huge wave of minions pushing down a lane, and the enemy team might not even know about it if they're not paying attention. So Promote, you do have to use this. This is going to be an activated ability on the 1, and you'll basically promote minions in the wave to give them an extra HP and damage, and you can push the wave really well. There's a case where you could use Ballistospores with a specific strategy. I'll probably do a separate guide on that. These give you global range. A newer player might like these, but really with the Abathur, as you get better at him, you're going to be very mobile across the map, and your limited range shouldn't be that much of an issue if you're playing him well. So yeah, Promote is what we're going to do here. And it's amazing how much you can do with Promote. Then level 7, there's a couple talents that are like kind of cool here. Like the slow is kind of nice on the right map. I mean, the healing isn't terrible, and the range is great, but I just cannot say enough about MULE. It heals 100 health per second for 60 seconds. That's 6,000 health, okay? And it restores 1 ammo every 5 seconds, so that's 12 ammo, maximum in one duration. It's cooldown of 60 seconds. So, if the MULE doesn't, you can kill the MULE, obviously. If there's an enemy MULE, you can kill it, and you should kill it. But if it lasts for 60 seconds, then all of a sudden you're calling another one down, and you can repair forts and towers. I mean, I've had games where the MULE, using this well, I haven't lost a single gate. I haven't lost a single fort. And the enemy team has lost all of their forts and all their keeps. So it's very, very, very good talent. I would recommend, whenever you have a chance to get a MULE, even if I'm playing, say, I've taken it as Tastar, for example. You can take this on other heroes. If you don't have a MULE is very powerful. Very, very powerful, and that's why at level 7 we're taking MULE. It really keeps your forts alive, keeps your lanes healthy. Level 10, you only have one choice, obviously the Ultimate Evolution, where you clone the hero. 13, this stacks into the lane push build. We're doing Assault Strain here. Locust, basic attacks cleave, and they explode on death for 60 damage. You'll see the Locusts they'll have like this green gas emitting from them. When this happens, when you see these on the enemy team, be very careful about killing them. If you kill them in melee, up close, they'll explode and deal a ton of damage to you. So you have to be careful fighting against these, and that's why they're great. They'll get up in the enemy minion's face, and then when the enemy minions kill your locusts, they will explode, dealing additional damage. So it's really awesome for pushing a lane. I don't really use additional charges ever. I mean, these aren't bad per se, because I do kind of end up using all of my mines and all of my Qs whenever I'm playing. But it's just, I can't say enough about having these things explode. The Locust explode. It does a ton of damage, and if they explode on a fort, I mean, it's a lot of damage. So that's why we do Assault Strain here. 16 is also for the Locust Brood. You get to spawn 3. This is another activated ability, so you can have Promote on 1, MULE on 2, Locust Brood on 3. And this hatches 3 locusts. Just like the one that you spawn every 20 seconds, it's 3 more. And what happens is, when to really get the most out of this build, and this talent in particular, you have to be out at least in the middle of the map, probably even at points on the enemy team's side of the map. Knowing where the enemy team is, getting in there safely, launching your Locust Broods, putting Promote onto the minion wave, symbioting a minion, and pushing that wave back, and dropping mines too, to clear up more minions coming down that lane for the enemy team. These Locusts, with the extra health and the cleave and exploding, and your symbioting, is going to do a ton of damage to the lane and really, really push it back. You can Also, interesting enough, you can use these to take down like a merc, like a hard camp, like the Knight's camp. With the Locust Brood, you could spawn these at the Knight's camp, symbiote them, and then just destroy the Knights. So it's not. It could be useful for that as well as pushing a lane. Really awesome to use. So that's your level 16, and level 20 we take Evolution Master. I guess a case could be made for Bolts of the Storm if you want to be reckless or you're very new to playing Abathur. Sure, give Bolt a try. You can be super aggressive, and you have like an escape. You can Bolt, and then you can Z. For information here, Abathur's Z, his mount, is a burrow. It's a 30-second cooldown. You can burrow to anywhere that's visible on the map, anywhere you have sight, and it does take, I want to say, 4 to 5 seconds to burrow. So you have to make sure that you're going to have vision of it for that long. Otherwise, the burrow will be canceled. But it's great for getting across the map, getting out of a sticky situation. So yeah, if you're new, you could try Bolt, but once you get good with Abby, you want to be taking Evolution Master. As I said, it reduces that delay, that downtime to 30 seconds between heroics if you play them, if they last for the full duration. So that's really, really, really critical. And that's the talent build. Now we're going to go ahead and get into game and show off a lot of these things, show off the style. You can see the Halloween skin. Yeah, so we'll get in, trying to think if there's anything else we want to cover before getting in. It's just, remember, you want to be kind of looking at that mini-map a lot and really seeing where the enemy team is, where you can be to get the most out of your lane push. And of course, also you want to help your allied heroes out as well. Don't leave them out to dry. Go ahead and symbiote them when they need your help. Get some ganks off. Be there for team fights with your ultimate. Definitely do that. So there's a lot. This is a very... the description is hard, I think, for Abby, right? So if we check this, it says very hard. And the idea is you could play Abathur and sit in base and not die, and he'd be very easy to play. You could be laid back, and he'd be easy in that sense. But to get the maximum utility out of playing Abathur, it is hard because you have to do a lot. You have to have a lot of map presence. You have to have great awareness and be all across the map, know when to take a risk and when not to. And so we'll show that off in game, hopefully, guys. Be bringing part 2 to you shortly.